today is a really in-depth talk about how the power of the mind, and because the quality of our dyslexia is in direct proportion to the quality of our psychology or our mindset, and to really understand it, to give you a framework to understand why we do what we do, and where does things come from, and like from the ground up, why do we have these things, and so it doesn't blame us, so we have full understanding of it. I really feel it's so valuable, and I hope you guys enjoy. And remember to like, share, and comment, and all this stuff.
So the big question is this: how can dyslexics like us create a place, a community, a tribe, where people at any stage of life can come and solve any challenge, amplify their strengths, and ultimately help them become who they were meant to be, or in other words, conquer their dyslexia? That is the question, and this show is the answer. My name's Theo Goff, and welcome to the Conquering Dyslexia podcast.
Hey guys, I hope we're doing well. Today I want to talk to you about the power of our mind and really uncovering it and understanding how it drastically influences what we do, what sort of life we live. And it's like the difference between people, like people see the world completely differently. You see the world differently than you mean your friends or your parents. You mean like you see the world differently. Even though you can have very similar experiences, you can see it completely differently. And oftentimes it's the quality of our basically what I call psychology, or that's like a mindset of how we see stuff, often dictates how it goes and like how our experience of it is. Even though the same things happened, two people can get completely different experiences from that thing. And it's so important to understand how the mind works and how it's critically important to control all of your actions, all the things you do. So I'm just going to take off my coat, getting boiling. Sorry about that, guys. Right. So the mind is so powerful, and I'd like to give you an idea about what it does, because basically, think of our mind. Our mind's role is to keep us alive, keep us surviving in the world. And before, like 2,000 years ago, it was designed just to keep us survive long enough so we can have babies. So our race is continually living, and that's the reason. That's how our brains are wired, and to look for danger, to look for negative stuff. And therefore, when we see negative stuff, we want to feel that, and we're going to want to one fight or freeze. That's kind of like how the mind has grown up. But in this day and age, that's not how the world is it? The world isn't all one fight or fleas environment. The world is around us. The world is rich. We don't have to hunt for food. There's no real danger compared to what there was. But yet we're still living with the same old mind that we're living with a couple thousand years ago. So we have to understand how to use this mind. Otherwise it will use us. And to give you a little idea about when sort of like our mind is using us, is when we feel like we have no hope. When we feel like it's all against us. When we feel like like there's no answers and like this seems impossible. That's all the mind talking. It's all the mind. But if you learn how to use the mind to its capabilities and learning how to wire it and have like a manual for your mind, you can make dyslexia a gift. With this alone, you can really find your own journey of conquering your dyslexia. But you can't conquer your dyslexia unless you really understand the power of the mind. And I remember, like with me, I realized, like, look, I want to find out how life works. Like when I was like 16, 17 years old, I was like, look, it's kind of like the start of my life, and I really want to find out how it works. I don't want to just trial and error. I want to look for people who've lived life, live great lives, and see what I can learn from them, and see what they say about what you can do to, learn about life. And so I started going obsessed with understanding like how life works. And I learned so many really important things. But the critical component is to understand, look, the difference in people is their psychology. Because once you have the psychology of something, the strategy is really easy. We talked about the 80% psychology and 20% strategy. But to give you an idea about how the mind works, the mind is programmed to delete delete, distort, and generalize. What I mean by these, because there's millions of like information the mind is seeing right now through all of its senses about the taste, about the touch, about the feeling, about the hearing, about the smelling. So all these senses are coming in, and we could focus on all these different things, like millions of different things we could focus on right now. But we don't. We don't focus on all these, because if we do, our brain would go overloaded, because our subconscious mind is dealing with all these things. They're deleting, distorting, and generalizing. Getting rid of all the stuff that's not important, distorts the stuff that you mean to make it make sense to you, and generalizes. So it generalizes in your frame of reference about how the world is. And now this is a critical component once you understand that's how the mind works. And we all do this. But for example, what's important to me, I would focus on, and I would notice it a lot more than what's important to someone else. If someone is obsessed with art and loves art, they would notice art everywhere. But if someone loves football, they would notice football a lot more. Does that make sense? They would notice things that what they're into. And that's all to do with what they delete, what they distort, and what they generalize. And so our view of the world is not the real view. Like we're experiencing the world, just experiencing our same world, but how it feels to us and what we experience is different. We're having the same stimulus, but having a different experience because we distort, delete, and generalize. I really hope you understand that. So it's a mindset's different. And I remember like when I was little, like really young, like before I got diagnosed with dyslexia, having all these difficulties. I remember I was in class, and the class were busy. I can't remember what they're doing. But I looked at this kid's book on this table. The kid had a book. He had one of these, like 2010, before then, but 2000 something, Guinness World Record books, and all the pictures and all the amazing stuff. And I was looking for it, I was like, wow, this is so cool. And then the teacher nicked the book out of my hand and really shouted in my face, "How dare you do that?" and told me to get out of the class and get outside. And what happened was, because this kid, like the book I was reading is from some other kid, brought it in, and he was upset that I was reading his book. But I was just like, well, I'm looking at a book. I'm doing the right thing. You always tell me to look at more books. So I got really annoyed when I was outside. I remember I was kicking all the lunch boxes, and I was just crying. And I remember that's a big slump. I was all by myself. And I remember just sitting there, like outside in the hall. I remember it clear to this day, saying to myself, I don't understand how the world works. I don't understand how people work. I thought I would do this and make you happy, but I did this and then you're sad and angry. How does that work? So I really all got obsessed with trying to understand, well, not obsessed at that age, so I got interested in how to actually understand people. And thinking I had to go out to really understand how people work and how life works. That's critically important, okay? So we all know that we delete, distort, and generalize the information that comes in. And how we do that, like depending on what we're interested in at that particular time in the state and the beliefs we're in, because you have different beliefs, you have different state, we take different things in. But to kind of like give you a framework of how life works, and to from the very base of like your very base of standing, because of like what I believe of who you are is a consequence to everything that's happened to you. Does that make sense? Not everything's like that's just not just everything you've experienced, but everything you've accumulated over the time. For example, like all your beliefs come from your past. All your values come from your past. You're not born with beliefs and values. You develop them, and this is how you develop them. First off is your environment, the culture you grow up in. And whatever culture it is, whether it's good culture, bad culture, there's a lot of different cultures, but the environment we grow up in, that's the first thing. That's like we don't choose our environment. But through this environment, we have certain experiences, don't we? Of meeting with our friends, meeting with our family, doing all these sort of different things. And through meeting with these people, having these experiences of being in class, trying to write something on the board, and you misspell it, then kids laughing at you run into the toilet, to being at like, in school in a parents' evening, and your parents and teacher says, you're too lazy. All these experiences were built up, and then we have beliefs from these experiences. So it goes experiences all the way to beliefs. And how we create these beliefs is we have these experiences, and then we make a decision, most of the time unconsciously, or they can be consciously, about what this experience means. What does this experience mean? Does this experience mean I'm dumb, I'm stupid, no one likes me, this can't happen? What does the experience mean? Then this experience moves into a belief. Like, for example, this means that no one likes me. I believe that I can't be liked. This means I'm dumb. This means I'm dumb. I believe I'm dumb. I believe I can't learn things. We have certain experiences turn into beliefs, and also they can be empowering. oh, this person says I look good, oh, I must be sexy, or all these things, or this person says I'm strong, or this person says I'm smart. The experience of that, this must mean that I am smart, my belief, I am smart. And then we have all these beliefs, and the beliefs massively dictate our actions, but also there's one more level. So after we have beliefs, there's one more level that are rich, more like engaged. So one thing about beliefs, there's three different type of, when I say different type, there's three general labels for beliefs. There's a belief, there's a story we tell ourselves, and there's a label we put upon ourselves. And what a belief is a feeling of certainty about something. That's all it is. It's a feeling we feel certain about something, but ultimately it's an opinion. It's an opinion about the world or about ourselves. That's kind of like what a belief is. So, and then from the beliefs we go to our values, what we value most. And what are values? Values are order or of importance. Some people value adventure, some people value growth, some people value contribution, some people value love, some people value family, some people value work. It's the order of importance of how we pick things. Hope that really makes sense. And we're not born with that. We create it for our environment. We see people we want to emulate, thinking, okay, this person has these values, I want to have these values. Or you go through a life feeling, okay, I want to have this. But so out of all this little diagram, there's something out of all these that are like the overarching things that can look down at all these that are so powerful and then invisible forces in our life, but ultimately they control every single action we do, because this is inbuilt in our nervous system. We do it and all the other animals do it. It's these two invisible forces called pain and pleasure. They're completely invisible, but no matter what you do it, and whatever your nervous system communicates to, that's the way you do it. For example, pain and pleasure. Whatever you link more pain to, then you link more pleasure to. In your nervous system, you move away from. Whatever you link more pain to, you move away from. Whatever you link more pleasure to in your nervous system than pain, you'll do whatever you can to move towards. And yes, this is very state dependent. And also you think like, yes, it'll be painful now, but pleasurable in the future. That's still pain and pleasure. But also we learn our beliefs, we learn our values through our need to avoid pain and meet pleasure. Because if it's painful putting our hand up and answering a question when we might get it wrong, then we'll turn that into a belief. Saying, oh, I'm not smart, I'm dumb, to keep us from this pain. Does that make sense? But ultimately, this is keeping up from living the best life, because all this does is trying to keep us make us live longer. But our brains are made to build us survive, not to thrive. Thriving is our part. Growth is our part. And that's why I'm teaching you this. To try to really override your thinking and override basically your conditioning, what you've done in the past. And I really hope that this is a quick little manual of how you can use this, because the quality of your dyslexia is directly in proportion to the quality of your psychology. Because if you have a good psychology, like you work on it, you work on your beliefs, you work on your values, you work on what things mean to you, then you can make massive progress in a lot of areas. So the one thing I want to talk about that's critically important is something called meaning. The meaning we take from situations dictate what we believe. And I know I covered it here. But if I had to, haven't got COVID, it's alright. But if I had to order them, for example, when I say this little section, our environment that we grow up in, we can't control. Our experiences, we have little control over. The meaning we give our experiences. Water. The meaning we give our experiences, we have ultimate control over. But a lot of us, we don't take control of it because we're unconscious with it. And the beliefs we have control over. But the meaning is so important. Like I said before, there's 3 decisions we make. What we're going to focus on, what does it mean, and what we're going to do. Meaning is critically important, okay? So now finally, I'm going to finish this by asking you, almost before I die, what beliefs, values and stories do you tell yourself that sometimes you believe are true, you believe are fact, but are actually an opinion of yourself? Have a think about that. And I think, are these the right beliefs, stories and values to have? Or maybe you might have new ones. Maybe you might have more accurate and empowering ones. Maybe this is something that you said to yourself just to keep you from some pain that are no longer serving you, that are being more negative than positive. I just want you to look at those. And if you can, write down 3, 4 or 5 belief stories or labels that we tell ourselves, maybe about our dyslexia. I really feel this is the first journey, this is the really first core step, is understanding ourselves, understanding our mindset into conquering our dyslexia. All right, guys, take care and